An insecure RFID system can be breached in a matter of seconds. With just a small device, the signal transmitted by a card can be captured, and if there is no encryption in place, the data can be easily cloned to create a copy that will open all the doors the original does. And because the real card is never taken, both red team operators and real attackers leave no trace of intrusion and gain access without drawing attention.
Hey everyone, Yaniv Hoffman here, and today I'm joined by someone who operates across both the physical and the digital sides of offensive security. She is an experienced red teamer who blends technical skills with creativity and social engineering to gain access to places that most people would never think are reachable, whether that's breaching physical access controls, compromising Active Directory, pivoting through internal networks, or attacking web applications ethically. So I first saw her speak at the Black Hat Asia 2025 in Singapore, and many of you may have seen her at other major conferences as well. She speaks a lot. She got also, if I'm not mistaken, at SECTI in Sweden. She won the best speaker. She spoke at Confidence in Poland, Sector in Canada, NOET, Econ, B-Sides Krakow, and many more. So this is Julia Zdunchik. Hopefully I said it right.
It was right this time.
Okay, so truly one of the most versatile and respected voices in the modern red teaming in my view. So today we are going to talk about her journey, the most interesting lessons from her physical and digital intrusions, and the common weakness organizations still overlook. And later in the episode, Julia will walk us through an hands-on demonstration so you can understand exactly how attackers approach real-world access system. So if you don't have patience and you are eager to see the demo, you can jump straight to the demo, use the timestamp on the screen, but then you will lose the insight Julia will share before, which I believe will be incredibly valuable. With all of that, welcome Julia. How are you?
Hi, Yaniv. Thank you very much for inviting me today and for such a nice introduction. I'm good, thank you. Very happy to be here.
So it took us long to do this video, I think 5, maybe 6 months, but
yeah, almost half a year to finally meet.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and I'm sure the viewers will love it, because I get a lot of requests to do some physical or RFID demos and bring some experts, so this is perfect. So I think, I thought, Julia, what to ask you, and instead to ask you to tell us about yourself, I thought, everyone in cybersecurity has the one moment where something clicked. So what was your moment that you said, okay, I'm going to get into cybersecurity and even, do offensive security and physical security also at some extent?
So I chose my study major as cybersecurity. Back then, I think I was not still sure what exactly I wanted to do. And then, of course, I joined the university. I met many people, and in my group of friends, we got very interested in offensive security. And we started playing CTFs, and I think that was the moment that it clicked for me that I really like it. The thrill and the emotions you feel when you finally find the flag after a sleepless night of banging your head against the wall, trying to exploit some vulnerability. I really love that feeling. So I would spend weekends, I would stay all the night to play CTF challenges. So that's how my idea to become a penetration tester started. And then also one of my colleagues recommended me a podcast, Darknet Diaries by Jack Resider, where he talks about interesting cybersecurity stories. And I heard one episode about physical red teaming, and that was very interesting. It sounded very fun. At that point, I didn't think I would do that one day, though. But then I started working as a penetration tester, doing mostly web application tests. And then I learned that my company also had a physical red teaming team. And I really wanted to join them. It worked out. And I stayed on the team.
So Julia, I met you at, or I saw you, we didn't speak, at Black Hat Asia, and you have done a lot of talks, but Black Hat is a different beast, right? So what made that event different for you, and any moment on the stage or behind the scene that really stuck with you? And for those who didn't see it, you showed the demo on the RFID, breaking into physical doors.
Yes, so Black Hat, of course, I felt a lot of pressure. It was the biggest and maybe most renowned conference that I was supposed to present at. And to be honest, speaking at Black Hat was always my dream since I started working in cybersecurity. So I was pretty stressed, and I really wanted to be perfect. So I prepared a lot before. And what was actually interesting is that during my presentation at Black Hat Asia, it was the first time ever that something didn't work during a live demo during my presentation. And I do a lot of live demos. I was always blessed by demo gods, but not this day. And I remember this moment at the stage when I saw that I cannot connect to the web interface of the device I was going to show. So I had to wait a minute before it started working. I could see on the faces of people in the audience that they were visibly stressed, but they really kept their fingers crossed for me. And in the end, it worked. I was super relieved, but it also taught me a lot. One of the reasons I do those live demos during presentations, of course, it's risky, but it also shows how it genuinely works in real life scenarios. Not always everything works the first time, and I believe it gives a lot of value to the audience to see that it's not always perfect, and sometimes you have to try a few things before it works. And in the end, I think it worked well. People were very content with the fact that they could see how it really looks like, and that you don't give up, and then it works in the end.
And everyone loved it because that's the real thing. And you were very calm, you didn't give up. And that's part of it, right? And it's try and error even in pen testing and offensive security until you crack the code, or you catch the flag, or you ensure your goal. So that was nice. Tell me, you mentioned before that you are working as a red teamer for your company. Of course, without mentioning names, what was the crazy and most unexpected thing you have been seen doing and on sites of being a red teamer?
Oh, I guess there were a lot of fun examples of what happened during our red teaming assessments. One I really liked. I actually presented it at Black Hat, also in a video. So it was a very crazy idea to get inside the office. There was a wall, a half wall. So there was a mechanical hole for pipes over the wall and below the ceiling. And to get inside the office, I tried to squeeze through this hole with the pipes. So that was a crazy idea to get inside. And actually it shows how creative you have to be a red teamer. And sometimes you have to have stupid ideas that will work out in the end.
In cybersecurity, it's indeed problem solving. So creativity is key. And Julia, I'm speaking with a lot of youngsters that want to go into this world, and they speak about hacking that is mainly code, right? They see themselves in some basement with a hoodie clicking on the computer, and you are doing a lot of physical red teaming. So what is exactly physical red teaming, if you need to explain it to people that are not familiar with that?
So physical red teaming would be an adversarial simulation in which we try to act as real attackers, and we try to break real-world physical security controls. So, for example, locks, walls, doors, RFID systems. We will try to use social engineering to get past guards or reception desks. And our attempt is to reach, for example, a data center or a specific room in a building, and do it in the most realistic and stealthy way as possible. So we will just try to act as a real-world attackers. And difference between a traditional penetration testing and physical red teaming, of course, is the scope. So in penetration testing, you will have some limited scope, for example, to one web application or some part of an internal or external network. And it will mostly regard some cyber assets. And if it's in physical red teaming, you will attack basically buildings, and the scope is mostly broader. So you have way more ways that you can attack an organization.
Interesting. So you involve both definitely social engineering to bypass some obstacles. If you can give us an example, this will be great for people.
So, for example, one scenario you could try to act as a service worker. So, for example, you will prepare some clothes, for example, high visibility vest or things that will make you look like a technician. And then you can try, or you can try to get inside the building to the reception desk and then try to basically sell a story that you're a technician that is supposed to work on something in a server room. And if there are no good procedures in place to check people that come into the office, they may let you in. So that's one example. Another one would be acting as an employee. So you would prepare, for example, a badge that doesn't work, but looks exactly like a badge of other employees in the building. And then you may try to go to reception, try to use your badge on a reader. It won't work. And then you can tell, okay, look, I have this badge. It doesn't work, but I'm an actual employee because I have a badge. So can you let me in? Because basically, for sure, that's some error in a system. And they may let you in because based on the badge with printed logo of the company, they will believe.
You know, how many companies today, organizations are, also using physical pen testers or red teaming physical intruders into their systems? It's a common thing.
I think it's not as common as it should be. Yeah, of course, like typical web application penetration tests or network tests are more popular, of course. But bigger organizations do order physical pen testing. We can actually see that it's not that popular because we find a lot of vulnerabilities during those physical pen tests. So we can actually see that it was not tested that thoroughly as, for example, in web apps that can be tested every year or every few months.
And from the success rate, Julia, when you are hired or your company is hired for that simulation, what is the success rate usually of such a trial?
So actually, that's a very good question for me because I'm proud to say that in case of my company, so far we have a 100% success rate. So we always manage to get inside in some way or other. Of course, during a physical pen test, you have a lot of objectives. For example, get into the server room, into the IT technical staff room, bypass reception in this way, bypass reception in another way. So sometimes we are able to perform all the objectives, sometimes some of them, but so far we always get access inside and we're able to break something.
Amazing. I was always thinking, there are a ton of lies that probably organizations tell themselves. Our badge system is encrypted and our guards will stop you and our trust fields are secure, and they will never believe that at the end of the day, someone can really penetrate. The risk probably they think is from the cyber side.
I think that's the biggest misconception with physical security is that companies put a lot of trust into that without checking. And that's the problem. You always have to check. And also, you have to do regular exercises to get people ready for that. The same as you do with email phishing. So, for example, security guards, they have to be trained every so often to stay alert, right?
Yeah, definitely. So Julia, for people that see you now, you came to Black Hat, you had a great session and demo. You're speaking in very prestigious stages around the globe. If you can share, and I have a lot of audience that are juniors or that are love to come into this segment. What you recommend them to do? So where should they start in terms of their skill set, paths, if they want to be a physical red teamer or on the digital side? What's your recommendation based on your experience?
So I think my first recommendation would be to you really have to like it to work in cybersecurity. So because you have to constantly learn. And you have to keep your motivation to learn new things even after you finish your job for a day, to read about current threats, vulnerabilities. But if you actually love it, then what I would recommend. So with standard digital pen testing, if you're interested in offensive security, I really recommend playing CTFs. They teach you a lot. They teach you the most important skill, which is problem solving and Googling stuff. Because in offensive security, you will face a lot of challenges. You will work with a lot of technologies and you can be an expert in everything. So you have to learn how to teach yourself quickly new things to be able to pen test new systems and new technologies. Physical security is a little bit harder to get into because with digital penetration testing, you have those CTFs, bug bounty programs, so you can train a lot on your own. With physical security, you of course cannot break into random buildings because that would be illegal. But not recommended. That's right. Don't do that, please. But if you want to learn, so one thing, to be a good physical red teamer, you have to have a pretty broad skill set. So not only being able to social engineer your way in and get inside in some way, while you're inside, you have to be pretty independent to continue the testing because in most cases, the physical penetration test doesn't stop with getting access inside. Then you plant some device, for example, in a server room. You try to get access to internal network. You try to leverage your privileges in Active Directory, for example. And you try to use that physical access to then get access to the company's digital assets. So you should have a lot of skills in different domains like Active Directory, networking, also web pen testing, RFID security. You can learn about that too to clone cards and be able to get past that basic controls in buildings. You could also try to learn books about social engineering and learn from others.
Definitely. I usually recommend on the digital side. I'm less experienced on the physical side. I usually recommend what I call the golden triangle if you want to get into it. So one, learn on operating systems. That's a must. Understand well networking. That's the basis of it all. And then add cybersecurity, and again in the path you are more interested in. It might be red team like you, it might be blue team, etc. Do you think code, Julia, is a must today? Because there are many discussions. There's ChatGPT today that can write the code for you. Do you think it's essential today to be a red teamer or even a blue teamer?
I think it's important at least to have basic scripting skill to be able to even produce some quick script that will help you analyze information or automate something. So that's a minimum. But if you're good coder, it will for sure help you.
So Julia, you spoke at many conferences around the world, some with very big names. Which is your favorite, if you can share with us, and why?
Of course. So actually, I think that my favorite one was the second time I ever presented. It was at ESPKey in Sweden. So it was also my first international conference. And I didn't expect it to be so big. So I actually presented for an audience of 1,000 people. live.
Wow.
And there was also a live stream for 200 more. And it was actually my biggest audience so far. It was my second ever presentation. That the atmosphere there and the organization was so good that I felt very comfortable. And it was one of the times when I didn't feel stressed at all, even though, and that's a pretty funny story. So I also prepared a live demo, of course, like always. And this demo included connecting with a friend from Poland while I was in Sweden. And we were supposed to open a reader I had on stage with me with a card of the person in Poland. And this card had to be sent to them by courier because I didn't prepare it early enough. And there were some delays. And actually, the courier delivered the package with a card about 30 minutes before my presentation. So it was very lucky, but we didn't even have time to properly test it. And it was my first time doing it live. So I just went on a stage in front of these 1,000 people. I started with my presentation and then we did the live demo and it worked out. But it was a miracle that it did with all the things in a way. So I really like this experience.
Wow, in front of so many people live, you are brave.
But they were very nice, very encouraging, very interactive. I actually even they asked me questions, but I asked them questions from the stage too. So it was nice. I love this memory.
Great. Is it recorded, by the way, if viewers want to see it?
Yeah, it is recorded. The presentation is named How to Break into Organizations with Style, Hacking Access Control Systems. And it was a SecTI conference. I think it was 2023.
Wow, cool. So I will leave all of the references for Julia, at least recorded public session, so everyone can enjoy, and it sounds great. So with that said, maybe Julia, I know you prepared, and I promised some small demo today on RFID. So let's see.
Okay, let's see. So I have an example access control system with me here. So actually what we can start with is to talk a little bit about how such a system can look like and what are the elements. So I will now try to show it to you with my camera. Okay, so what you can see here is the setup I normally use during my presentations. This is a standard setup, of course, a mock version of it. So what we have here, of course, we have a reader that will communicate with the use of some card. And then we have another part of the system. So what happens when you have an access control system in a facility? You will have a reader, and this reader has wires coming from the back. We can see them right here on the bottom. So as you can see, there is a lot of wires going out of the reader. And then they will connect to some kind of controller. In my case, it's just a Raspberry Pi that runs some Python code that acts as a controller and just checks the IDs of the card if they are valid or not. So the information comes from a reader through those wires to the controller. Then the controller gets the ID of the card. And in my case, the controller decides if it will open the door or not. So there is another bunch of wires that go to this controller that will either keep the circuit open or it will close it. And if the circuit is closed, the energy comes to this lock and it opens. So now try it with a valid card. As you can see, it opened. And of course, we have a door that we can open or close. So this is a very basic example of an access control system, reader, controller, and a mechanical lock and a door. So now maybe take a look at how this communication between different parts of a system looks like. So I will now show you my screen. Okay, so now I have access to a console. And this console is connected to the device called Proxmark. This is a device that I'm showing right now on a camera that allows us to listen to communication between a reader and a card, or to communicate with cards or readers. And what we can do now, we can try to listen to the communication that happens between a card and a reader. I will put a command for that. And now I will put the Proxmark between a card and a reader, and we'll see what happens in this communication channel. Okay. And let's see if we got any data. So now we'll try to list the data that was sniffed. And as we can see, a lot of things happened. So basically what we can see here, these are the messages that were sent either by reader or attack. And we won't go into the very details because it's pretty complicated. But what you can see is that actually over this air channel, over the radio frequency channel, a lot of communication happens when the card is being put close to a reader. So this is the first part of the communication channel. Now we'll see what different attacks can be for different parts of a system. So we will start with the communication channel between a reader and a card. So basically what happens when the card is being put close to the reader? The reader constantly asks if there are any cards around. And if there is any, please send me your data, your ID. And if the card hears such a call, in simplification, it will send its ID to reader. In case of an unencrypted card, like this one I'm showing right now, we can actually try to act as a reader to get the data of the card. We can do that with different kind of equipment, for example, with a Proxmark device that I showed earlier, or for example, with a flipper. So I guess many people use that and know this device. It's pretty popular and very convenient, small. So what we can do, we can get into the low frequency menu for this card and put it in a reading mode. So right now, it's reading for cards. We can put it close to our card. And this way, we are able to get a read. So what happens right now? Our reader, our flipper acted as a reader. So it was, are there any cards around? If there are, send me your ID. And our card did just what was it programmed to do. So it sends the data. And now we have the data of the card. So now we will simulate the other part of a system. We will simulate the card. We'll use the data. And now we are emulating. And we'll wait for a genuine reader to ask us about our ID. And when it does so, we'll send it. So this way, we were able to open this log, not with a use of genuine card, but with a use of our device. And as you could see, it was pretty simple. And in real life scenario, it's good for us as red teamers and sadly for attackers, because this way we can be stealthy. Because of course you could try to steal employees' cards, but this will leave a trace, and you will risk being discovered. In this way, all the genuine cards are still used by employees. Nothing gets stolen, and no one actually knows if you did it right, that you have a clone of a card. So you can just walk around and open different doors. The example I showed, of course, was an example of an unencrypted card, which is pretty easy to break. And of course, in the real world, you will have way more complicated systems with encryption. But as we all know, cybersecurity researchers do not stop on their journey of finding new vulnerabilities. So there are known attacks for other types of cards as well. Okay, so we talked about the first part of a system, which was the communication channel between a card and a reader. So we'll now take a look at the second part of the system, which is the information that is being sent from a reader to a controller. So these are the wires that the information is being sent over. And I already put an implant of those wires. That's why we could see earlier the information that was being sent. So now we can see both my access control system and the tick interface. So as we can see here, we have the intercepted IDs of card. And what we can do actually now with a tick, we don't need a genuine card. Having this number, we can use the device to send the data and open the door. Let's try to do it again. So watch closely for the lock. The data is being set and the lock opens. So this way we can also stay undetected as attackers. If we were able to install this device behind the wire, on the wires behind the reader, we are now able to open this reader open the lock whenever we want. Of course, to do that, we have to get access to the wires first, but in most cases, we could just unscrew the reader on the bottom and take it off the brace, like here. And of course, there are some attacks in servers and controllers as well, but also the most straightforward one, I would say, is attacking the lock itself. And there are some ways to do that. So, as I explained, in my example, there is some circuit that is either closed or open, depending on the decision of the controller. In case of my lock, it works in a mode that when the circuit is opened, it's closed. So if we disconnect it from the power, it still will be closed. But in some real life scenarios, for example, due to some fire regulations and safety regulations, the physical locks operate in safe open mode, which means that to be closed like this, they have to be connected to the power. So what you could do in that case is get access to those wires and just cut them. And when you do that, the lock would open. Of course, that's pretty destructive. And during a red team assessment, we don't want to do that. And we want to keep damages as small as possible. But other things you could do with those locks, and that's actually pretty funny. And that's one of the ways I managed to get access to a server room once. So I didn't worry about the RFID system, about encryption, or installing the device on the wires behind the reader. The vulnerability was in the lock itself. So here, the lock is clearly visible. Normally, there would be a hole in a door, so you could see another part of the door here, but the lock would work exactly the same. So in that case, what you is a plastic card for that. So let's say this is our door and the lock is inside. What you can do, you can try to put the card like this, and it makes the door latch hide inside the lock. And of course, from this side, it's easy because there is this side here, and from the other side, it's straight. But we have other devices for that too. For example, this one. So let's say I want to get access to the lock from the other side. What I would do, let's try to show it right now. I hope it will work out the first time. What I would do is I would try to put this device from behind, like that, and hook the door latch. And then if I do it right, it hides. And I'm actually able to open the door this side, because of course normally closed. So actually a fun thing about being a red teamer is that in many cases you will try to look for the easiest way inside. So you won't, if you see a door latch that is vulnerable, it takes a few seconds to get inside, instead of hunting for employee cards or installing the device behind the reader. And it's fun if you can just open a server room door with a plastic card or a metal hanger. So that's what I said about doing a physical red teamer. You have to be creative. You have to always have all those little ways you can get inside in your mind, and use them as you see fit.
I think definitely after this video, I will look at doors differently, at least in the coming weeks, I'm sure. Tell me, Julia, this was very insightful and sharp. I'm sure many of the viewers that look at your setup will ask, if I want to try to practice, as you said, it's not like in the digital realm, you have CTFs and you have many services that offers their practices and simulations. How do you reach, or how do you get such a thing? It looks to me, do it yourself in your extent.
Yes, I did it mostly myself with some help from others. For example, with the physical part, my dad helped me because I had to cut the door for this setup.
Okay.
And I never used a woodcutter before. So as you can see, I tried really hard to make those lines straight. So this one is very straight. This is the one that my dad did. And this is the one that I did. So, so yeah, but, so to do this setup, it took me some time. It was actually my first time I tried to do some setup with some electronics involved. So I knew how to use Raspberry Pis before, of course. I knew how to code in Python. So I basically looked for libraries that connect to the reader. The protocol that is used by my reader in this example is called Wiegand, and there is a Python library for that called PyWiegand. So I used it for this project. And as for the physical parts, so you can actually buy used readers in places like AliExpress, for example. I also bought just a mechanical lock on a site like that. And then I connected everything with some wires, with some electronic elements. Maybe I should write a blog post about how to build a setup like that. Maybe I will do that one day.
Many will be interested. And of course, we are not promoting illegal activity. Everything is ethical, and we do it for educational purposes. Julia, is there places or resources that you recommend for people that like to go into this part of the cybersecurity domain to become a physical gamer that you can share, and we'll definitely publish it in the description or on the screen?
Well, of course, physical security is harder to get into, also because of resources. So, for example, for web pen testing, you will have Portswigger, Web Security Academy, or Hack the Box, or Try Hack Me. You don't get as many of those things for physical pen testing, so it's harder to learn, and it's basically reading a lot of documentation or some blog posts or forum discussions, and just getting your knowledge from all of these sources at once. Things that I can recommend that will help me: conference talks. So watching conference talks there is a lot of them on YouTube. Some I like, for example, is A Batch of Shame by Dan Petro or David Vargas from Bishop Fox. That's about OSDP protocol. Or talks by Babak Javadi. But also you get a nice list of RFID talks. I will send it to you so you can put it in a description. It's called Awesome RFID Talks, and you can get a lot of knowledge from there. Also, joining an RFID Discord that is run by Iceman, and watching his videos and talks, that's also a good source of knowledge. What helped me was also just reading through Proxmark code. So there is a lot of information there. It's open source and a lot of people contributed to it. So a lot of very, very valuable knowledge is in this code, and you can actually analyze how different protocols work, because Proxmark tries to emulate them, for example. Reading through documentation and research papers. I really like research papers on MyFair Classic, for example. That's one type of cards. Looking at different tool repositories, like, for example, the repository of the TIC, which was created by my friend Jakub Kramasz that I showed today. Also, there are some trainings. For example, my colleague Sławek Jacek, he has a site, smartlockpicking.com, and he also does trainings about RFID security. But this all regards RFID and physical security in general. I would just look at information shared by people who worked in this domain, and maybe reading some books about that. There are some interesting books as well.
And amazing. This is so great. And I think you gave a lot of resources. I promise to share everything here in the description. Some will do already in the screen when you spoke. So with that said, Julia, thanks so much. And for everyone, follow Julia. She's follow Julia, and I will share her social media contacts, definitely. So we'll be more than happy. And if you enjoyed this video, if you have more questions for Julia, if you want to see Julia in the future here speaking and showing more things, I'm tying you up now, Julia. Definitely leave your comments. If you like the video, like, subscribe, share. And again, thank you, Julia, so much for your time, your insights. And I'm sure that you have more now supporters and fans getting into this domain of cybersecurity.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to present here, to talk with you. It was very nice. I'm always happy to share what I know, to connect with cybersecurity folks, and learning together. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys, and see you in the next video.